the Bloomfield Hills Board of Education meeting for August 24th, 2023. Trustee VanGemert, can you take attendance?
All board members are present with the exception of Trustee Cullen, who's on his way.
Awesome. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Checking to see, we're moving on to item number 2, public comment. Is there any public comment today? Seeing no public comment, we're going to move on to item number 3, Superintendent update. Dr. Liepa.
Thank you. Thank you, President Southward. Appreciate it. Going to give an update on a variety of things tonight for the community that are watching as we get ready for the start of school. I mean, here we go. We're just about there. A lot of activity going on. As you all know, the start of school is always busy, but it's certainly busier this year with the grade configuration changes and with the construction work that's going on in our school district. And so a little bit, some of the busyness is normal, but some of it's a bit unique for us this year. And so just want to highlight a few things that are going on. We had our welcome back for our new teachers today. And so all of the new teachers that will be starting with us this year, we invited them in today. I want to recognize Todd and Sarah and Kimberly, who organized the day for them and provided their first outreach to our school system and our school community. They were excited, and of course we're excited to have them. Yesterday I had a chance, and so we're talking about the start of school, which is a little ways away, but yesterday the start of school happened in our school district for the International Academy. First day of school, I had a chance to go over there and visit. They had a dancing dinosaur in the parking lot yesterday, and so a lot of activities going on. It was an opportunity for me to see the program in action. I was excited. Jake, we did the roof this summer, and boy, was it the first test. It poured on the first day of school yesterday, and the roof did not leak. So we were pleased about that. So welcome back to the IA International Academy program, who started up this week. A lot of other activities that are coming up next week for us. Most notably, the preparation that we have going on for our new grade configurations and construction, but a lot of other activities that are happening also. High school pickup was this week, and so I happened to be in the building a couple of times, as did many of our staff, and we saw the freshmen one day, sophomores another day, juniors and seniors, and so activity in the high schools again, which was exciting to see. And of course, all of the extracurricular, co-curricular programs are starting now. And so athletic events are beginning. Tonight is football at Seaholm. So the season kicks off. It's always an exciting time for school districts when we talk about back to school. That's happening tonight as we speak. I want to talk about a few other big things that are happening next week with our Welcome Back Week for staff. And so on Tuesday, we have a big event for the staff to welcome them back, professional development for them, but also an opportunity for everybody in the school system to come together at the high school, say hi, renew acquaintances, and just get excited about the school year starting again. In addition to that, the next day then we have, as you know, a significant critical incident training that will be happening. We've been planning on this for a year. We've been doing this in cooperation with the Bloomfield Township Police. I certainly want to give a shout out to the entire police department and all of the emergency staff that have been working with us on that. This exercise will actually involve all of our staff, and we anticipate about 120 police, fire, and emergency people walking through a live simulation in regards to what we would do in an emergency. It's going to be a controlled setting for our staff, and so it's going to be an opportunity for them to learn. It won't be hopefully as traumatic as it would be if something real was happened, but they're going to actually experience a variety of things and have a chance to think together about, okay, well, what should we be doing? What will we be doing? And we're really hoping that that will provide an opportunity for us to practice our response. So when you look at this activity, it's not just our staff response, but then the police also will be practicing their response, everything from rescue to what happens with emergency if there were any injuries. We actually have actors that will act as injured people in the setting. We will work on evacuating the building with the police, how they would do that, how they would clear the building, where we would go. And we're actually going to practice a reunification process. And so literally we'll have school buses that would be called just as they would if it was a real emergency. They will come, they will pick up staff members that are acting as students. They'll pick up staff members that are acting as parents, and we're actually going to take them to our reunification site and practice that, what would happen, how we would actually reunify families if in the event of emergency, how that would happen. So a big activity for us on August 30th. I want to recognize all of our staff who will be going through this. I mean, that's a very solemn activity, very frankly, but it's, you know, the times that we live in. I want to recognize our staff. And I'm going to pick out Karen and Rebecca specifically, but it's really Karen and everybody that's working on this. But we could not have pulled this off. The planning for this has been unbelievable, to plan for 800 people, 120 people from outside our community coming in and having this all work out. So a lot of planning gone into it, and we'll be doing that on August 30th. During that day, too, I would just want to announce that the high school will be closed until 4 p.m., including the athletic facilities. And so for the community, that will happen. And also, Andover Road will be shut down until 12:30 p.m. that day. And Exeter Road between Dublin and Andover is shut down that day. So just want the community to know that will be occurring on that particular day. Talk about transportation for a second. As you know, this year we have not changed the actual walk zones, but what we had changed initially, because not having enough drivers to cover all of the routes that we've run in the past, there were certain stops in the walk zone that we weren't sure if we were going to be able to provide. And that's been causing a lot of anxiety for us wanting to provide that service. That's something that we've done in the past, and we were anticipating maybe we couldn't do this year. The good news is that we've come up with a few solutions this week that appears to put us in a position to allow us to start adding back some of those stops. Our goal is to add back, the stops that we had last year, add them back for this year. And so we've just identified a resource that will provide us some additional bus drivers to start to do that. And we're confident that we're going to be able to start to look at how to do that and start identifying those stops and bringing those back online. So cautiously optimistic about where we're at with that, especially compared to where we were a week ago. We've received a variety of emails, I know you all have, and so we'll want to make sure to get back to those people that have contacted us and let them know that we're starting to find solutions, especially when we start identifying those stops along the way. So that's a big item for us. Also want to talk a little bit about the projects, and I'm not going to steal the thunder of Plant Moran Cressa, who's here today. They're going to go through the progress chart that we've set up and look at that weekly progress listing for our buildings and where we're at or where we're expected to be at as we get closer to the start of school. We're at that stage, and I'm someone who's lived through a variety of renovation projects in schools over the last 30 years. We're at that stage where you're 10 days out and you're like, oh my gosh, are we going to get this done? And so that's not abnormal, but I will say that there's a lot of work still to do to get the schools ready. As we sit here today, we believe school will open on September 5th. We're confident that we'll have kids in school on September 5th. We know that not everything will be done. There'll be punch lists of things still to address and to finish up. We've shared with you a few of the major types of things that won't be done, even though schools will be able to open up. But right now it's almost on a daily basis. Okay, where are we at on this? For example, we're pouring the pavement. If you've driven by South recently, pouring the pavement this week. Well, guess what? Poured like crazy yesterday, right? So, going to push us back a day in regards to laying the pavement both at Conant and at South. That's just one example of the things that can change. So it's going to be right down to the wire, but we're anticipating getting staff in the buildings next week, and we're anticipating having school open up on September 5th, and we'll keep you updated every day, or regularly, I should say, as we move ahead with that. just a couple of celebration items. I want to thank our Plant Services Department, Jake McDermott, hiding there in the far back. But through Jake's effort and the department's effort, going above and beyond, they worked with DTE. And as we've been putting in these new lighting projects in our schools, we actually got rebate checks now for $58,000 back to our school district. And so just an example of the work that they're doing regularly to be very frugal with the school districts and the community's dollars, and being certainly people that are watching every dollar that we spend, and doing everything we can to make sure that we have the resources for our kids. Secondly is a student-related item, and Paul and Siva had a chance to join us at an event just a little bit ago, and we're going to show you a couple of videos related to this. But this was a robotics program at the middle school. Want to recognize the coaches, Dan Champo, Amber Maloney, our middle school principal, Jason Rubel, who were active in helping these kids, this robotics a team called the Great Engineering Kids of Tomorrow, GEKOT. They received a U.S. patent, an actual patent, for the work that they did. These are middle school kids in the robotics program getting APS. I mean, can you imagine getting a patent from the United States? And that's where we were at. We were at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office down in Detroit. And they were able to receive this. And they came up with a problem. And they said, okay, well, we see these scooters down in major cities like Detroit. You can drive the scooters around. And they're like, well, they don't seem very safe. And so what can we do for these scooters to make them more safe? And they literally created a collision avoidance safety box technology for the scooters, so it would, just like an electric car that's driverless, will recognize a problem and actually stop the scooter to avoid an accident. So what a remarkable thing by these kids to have a patent, number one, to do this, number two, to get a patent for it. So there are a couple of very special recognitions that they received, and we're going to show you a video of those recognitions.
Hello, I'm U.S. Senator Gary Peters, and congratulations to the GEKOK First LEGO League robotics team. When presented with the challenge of solving real-world problems, you rose to the occasion by inventing a system to improve the safety of electric scooters. Not only did this design win your team the title of state champions, it earned you a patent through the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Trust me when I say that is no small feat. It's a testament to your ingenuity, your hard work, and tireless dedication to getting the job done. You all should be so proud of this accomplishment, so congratulations again. I can't wait to see what you'll do next.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kathy Vidal, Undersecretary of Commerce for Intellectual Property and Director of the United States Patent and Trademark Office. I wish I could be there in person, but I am still excited to be joining you virtually for this special ceremony. When I heard that 3 years ago, students from Bloomfield Middle School came into our Elijah J. McCoy Midwest Regional Office to ask about how to get a patent for the invention, I had to be part of the ceremony. Not only is this an important moment for you, the students, mentors, and parents, but it's admittedly a great moment for us, the USPTO. It allows us to shine a light on the bright minds of our students who know and understand that any problem is worth solving and every solution is worth protecting. The great state of Michigan and the country as a whole need that creative mindset. It's that creative mindset that built Ford Motor Company in Dearborn and GM in Detroit, which now collectively employ about 350,000 Michigan workers. It's that mindset that built KitchenAid in Benton Harbor with more than 10,000 employees. It built Levine and Sons Plumbing and Heating in Southfield with its 400 workers, and Four-Legged Friends Daycare and Boarding in Livonia with its 50 employees. and Grandpa Tony's Italian restaurant in Bay City with its 30 employees, which has served the Tri-City area for more than 60 years. These businesses, both large and small, born out of that creative spark and entrepreneurial spirit that you've demonstrated, are fueling local, state, and national economies and improving lives. To the parents, coaches, school faculty, and community, thank you for encouraging and advocating the importance of innovation, determination, and resilience. I know you are proud. To Dan and Autumn, the mentors, I applaud you for your leadership and am so grateful you took on this challenge and encouraged the students to see it through. Hard work pays off is a valuable lesson. Finally, thank you to the students for your dedication, your zeal, and your passion. Honor, Elias, Julia, Kiera, Evan, Mihir, Lucas, Kate, Uvani, and Julia. You have invested many long hours and sacrificed so much to reach this point. It is my sincere hope that each of you know that you have made a difference. You have solved a problem, and you have wisely protected your solution so that you can commercialize it and serve as a shining example of innovative progress. I hope you keep going and keep solving problems. Keep changing the world with your ideas. We are all the better for it. Congratulations.
And so that concludes the superintendent's report, President Southward. And I just want to again extend a warm thanks to everybody who's been so welcoming to me as I started out here in the school district over the last many weeks. It's been wonderful. This is a great community, and a lot of people support the schools here. So onward to start of school. Here we go.
Yes, what a great way to conclude, Dr. Liepa. Thank you so much for that update. Moving on to item number 4, Superintendent Search Update and Board President Update. So first, on Board President Update, before each of us, we have our 2023 Board of Education Liaison and Representative appointments. If we can be sure to review this on a regular basis to ensure that we're connecting. We're so excited that one of our PTO groups have already connected with us, and so we're looking forward to interacting with them this fall semester and our other PTO groups and our other liaison responsibilities, so that's super exciting. With regards to our superintendent search, which is the committee, is myself, Trustee Hill, and Vice President Kumar. We've had some very engaging conversations with our MLI representative, John Saveri. And within those conversations, we are currently looking at candidates to see who could we bring forward to the rest of the Board of Education to consider for our next superintendent. At the previous meeting that we had in our study session, for those of you who weren't able to watch, we had decided that we would break off into a committee, and that committee would take a look at some potential candidates and then bring forth an individual to present to the rest of the Board of Education, and then to decide if that person would be invited to interview with us publicly and interact with our community. And so we are looking forward to our continued engagement in those activities. So thank you. Moving right ahead on to item number 5, our consent agenda. Trustee VanGemert, if you can, is there a motion?
Certainly. I move the Board of Education approve the recommendations detailed in the consent agenda as follows. Approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of July 27, 2023. Approval of the minutes from the study session of August 10, 2023. I move the Board of Education approve the disbursement reports as presented by Dr. Maria Gistinger, Interim Assistant Superintendent of Finance. And lastly, I move that the Board of Education approve the personnel actions as presented by Keith McDonald, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Second. It's been properly moved in second, and there's a second. Is there any discussion from trustees? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, 7-0. Moving right along to item number 6, special reports. We're going to have our bond quarterly report, and we have Paul Wills, our owner's rep from Plant Moran Cressa.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Let's see. Yes, would like to actually echo what Dr. Liepa mentioned in terms of what a Herculean task, really in the last 2 years, if you think about it. The district's installed over $110 million of construction on 6 different sites. And a lot of that goes to the work of the school board, more importantly, the school administration in terms of the superintendent, learning services team, Mr. McDonald, Mr. Dykstra, Dr. Gistinger, and the entire team. Again, that cooperation really does help get to the finish line. That finish line is fast approaching, as we know, and as Dr. Liepa mentioned, a lot of great progress. So I know some of the board members had a chance to tour. It is a little nerve-wracking when you walk through and see a couple 20, 30, 40 workers really scrambling to get things done. But it is the goal that, and you'll hear from Mr. Dressel shortly, our inspections are on schedule to take place this week and early next week. Teachers can get in the building safely. More importantly, students can get in the building safely going forward. Really 3 parts to our presentation this evening. Mr. Dressel is going to kind of go through and give you some of the summary snapshots of what work has taken place. As crazy as it sounds, some of the pictures you're going to see have actually changed the last week and a half since we sent the report in. A lot of the kindergarten rooms are actually painted, carpeted, and installed with furniture going forward. Then we're going to talk a little bit about what are those things that are kind of coming forward. We're going to have a financial update, and then we'll also open up for questions and answers. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Mr. Dresselhaus.
Thank you, Mr. Wills. Good evening, board. Been an exciting day today. Mr. McDonald, Mr. McDermott, and myself toured all the properties to get first-hand view of everything that was taking place. And as Mr. Wills alluded to, things are changing, not only by the day, but by the hour. The drawings, or pictures, excuse me, you're going to see were taken middle of last week, and they have changed dramatically as well. We are going to get into talking a little bit about details with regards to all construction activity, very detailed at each of the facilities, so you have a better understanding of what's currently going on. But just quickly run you through a few pictures here. The north at North Hills, the main entrance for the parent drop-off is pretty much complete. Landscaping was actually being wrapped up today out there and is really looking sharp. The main office, as you can see in the photo there in the bottom, we're in the final cleaning stages there, and most of the main quarters already have had most of the boxes moved into the classrooms, cleaned up, and are ready for the teachers to take part in setting up their rooms. South Hills is a little bit more of a challenge. It is very tight there right now with respect to trades, pretty much working around the clock. As Dr. Liepa had mentioned this morning, or we talked this morning, and then also he just mentioned that we lost some time with regards to paving out in front. We started that earlier this week, and today was kind of a washout, but in speaking with Bart Mell this afternoon, they were able to reach out to the township, and they granted us a variance to actually do work this Sunday, which is typically a no-no, but to do work on the site and finish up that paving to put things back on track with regards to the site activities there. You can see the auditorium. Again, today I was out there. Most of the furniture is starting to be pushed into place. The final touches on some of the walls and things are going in. Music room is coming together. The items there have been cleaned out, and the main office is clean. And a lot of the offices have already had final cleaning, and the doors are shut and locked and ready to be turned over next week. Conant, again, you look at the new fire lane in the upper right there, that actually has asphalt down now. The first coat, the second coat is actually going in, I believe, tomorrow. So we'll be able to wrap that up. The main office is getting final cleaning. Corridors are being cleaned. We're wrapping up the main. We put the new ACM metal cladding around the front there. The new building identification will be going on, might have went on this afternoon. It is going on probably tomorrow. So things are really coming together there. We've been working, I know the staff has been working diligently on talking about parking as things will be tight as the teachers come in next week, but I think we have a good plan in place now and things are moving forward. Way to our surprise, actually, the new playground equipment got installed. You can see that in the center bottom picture there. Looks great, got the mulch around it. The site work is really, all the paving is done. I don't know if you've driven by it recently, but most of the front has all been cleaned up. I know there was a lot of concerns about that, but the asphalt's done, the striping's in. We are in good shape there. The main entrance is being wrapped up. Jake and his team are cleaning up some of the landscaping. The offices are, getting touched up and getting prepared for final cleaning. The Ingenuity lab, actually, as you can see in the picture there, today they were putting flooring in, the ceiling tiles were getting dropped, putting the finishing touches on the wall paint. And then obviously the front main entrance now already has the metal cladding all the way around the front of that, the new secure vestibule there, and the new identification is going in place. High school, this is really good news as well. The athletic fields, the baseball and softball turf projects are way ahead of schedule. So we originally promised we would have this turnover for spring of 2024. Happy to report we're tracking more like October, 1st of November of this year. Those things should be ready to go. So with a little cooperation from the weather, and the turf is, I believe, showing up on site next week, we will be on track to turn those over early. Eastover at the old East Hills there. So even in these pictures that I'm showing you today, things are dramatically changed. All the flooring's done, the walls are all painted. You can see the millwork surrounds for where the new media boards and things are in place. Dave and his team have done a great job getting prepped to get ready to put their technology and network infrastructure in place, get the new digital boards hung. So we had concerns initially about this being ready for opening day, and happy to report as of today, we are tracking no problem getting our occupancy and our approvals in place here to have this open day one. Lone Pine at West Hills, this is done. So we have our C of O, the kindergarten classrooms are completed, the, boxes are being moved into place. Teachers are, I'm sure, excited to get in there and start setting up their classrooms. It turned out to be a real nice looking area there. Just wanted to go through in detail, talk a little bit about inspections. This is something that the board subcommittee, Dr. Liepa, myself, and some other, Jake and Keith and I have been working on to go through and identify critical tasks at each facility and where we stand with each. So we went through and itemized out green being on track, yellow concern, and red behind schedule. So starting off with the elementaries at Conant, the playground equipment is still on track to be ready to go, even though it's not installed today. Some of it is, some of it's not, but we are tracking still to have that ready to be completed next week, August 28th, in time for school. Monument sign is actually up. It is yellow only because the sign will be in place, but the actual communication to the sign with the scripts and texts and welcome, to the new school year, that is dragging a little bit behind. We're still hopeful to get that in place, but that's not a priority right now for Dave and his team to get that up. But if you haven't seen it, it looks great and is in place. The parking lot, landscape, and site work after today needs some work. They are prepping to get ready to put down some new asphalt around there, but we've got construction traffic, obviously is real tight between Conant and South right now with all the paving activities. And so, you've got construction workers parking there, and we need to get those cars removed so we can clean the existing asphalt, get it restriped and ready to go for school. But we will make it happen and it'll be ready to go. Good news on the health department is we have passed all our preliminary inspections, so there should be no issues there. Fire and life safety marshal, he comes in weekly, and we're on track to receive our final life safety inspection approvals next week. Their IT installation, there's a footnote down there. We are showing that as yellow. The network, the main infrastructure and things will be in place. The only reason it's yellow is that we may not have all the connectivity to all the monitors and things ready to go day one. Again, the team is working diligently to improve those as possible. That would be our only concern there at Conant. Furniture, equipment installation is on track. Most of it's already in the classrooms or in the hallways, ready to be put into place. Construction cleaning is ongoing. I mean, they're doing it 24/7. Every night they're coming through and segmenting off an area in the school to tackle that, and so that's on track. Move management's on track. We are scheduled to get the teachers back in to their classrooms next week on the 21st for them to start. And then we are going to scheduled, and I believe it's on the 28th, to get our final C of O at Conant from the township office there. A lot can be said similar at Eastover there. Construction was a concern, but now it's green, so that will be all green next week. We update this weekly for the team. The playground equipment installation, I saw it firsthand today, is actually installed. They just need to put the stone around it and the mulch to wrap that up. Monument sign is getting prepared to go in place there. We're, again, hopeful to have that up with the script message day one, but we still have some work there to do. There's no landscaping or parking issues there. Health department, we're approved. Life safety with the fire marshal, we're good. IT, again, yellow, just we're working to have all the connectivity in place day one, but there may be a few computers and monitors that aren't ready to go. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment are all in. Construction cleaning is ongoing. Still on track to get the teachers back in there next week for setting up in their classrooms. Again, we'll have our final C of O and things there next week, and still on track for no problems first day of school on the 5th. Lone Pine, so the playground originally was designed and to be installed in an area of which we had to remove some trees. And through our submissions to the township and also further discussions with our civil engineer, we ran into some issues with some wetland mitigation potential problems, as well as some tree abatement issues. And so to the credit of the district's team, Jake, Mike Cowdery, Randy, Keith, we all were out there, and we didn't leave until we came up with another solution in the principal to talk about what we could do there. And so we did identify another area. It's actually going to save us some money, and we are working hard right now to get that stuff in place. There will be playground equipment installed day one, but all of the new stuff that we're installing may lag on a couple days or a couple weeks there. Parking, landscape, site work, again, nothing there. Monument sign it actually is in place, so that's been resolved. Life safety, no issues there. IT installation, again, some concerns, but network will be in place, wireless connectivity, everything should be all set there. Again, we just might have some minor connections and things that we got to work through. Construction, cleaning, teachers back next weekend there. So we're in good place at Lone Pine. Starting on the September 5th, teachers back, or for kids back into the school, no issues. Way playground equipment is already installed. I think you saw a picture of it I showed up there. We're ready to go there. Monument sign, the foundation I believe is in place. The frame's probably going in today or tonight. But again, it's yellow just because we won't have the full connectivity to it, but the physical sign will be in place. Parking, landscape, and site work. We're on track to be done there. As I showed you, the paving was done. Jake and the team are cleaning up they've already cleaned up a lot of the landscape, and that's going to be wrapped up. IT obviously is a concern in each of them, but we're working through it. Furniture, all of that's on site, ready to be put in place. Construction cleaning was ongoing today. Teachers back next week. Going to get our final C of Os there next week as well. No issues with health department, so we're good to go at Way with kids the first day of school. North Hills, North and South Hills are just absolutely spectacular. So I know some of you got a chance to get in there. The only thing that really is lagging at North is the actual pool itself, but that wasn't scheduled to be delivered until February of 2024. But we are tracking ahead of that and working with Mr. Cowdery and the team. We're probably looking to turn that over somewhere early October to mid-October. And it's just an unbelievable venue there. That'll be a great addition to the middle school. Parking landscape, the landscaping is wrapping up. Again, a lot of trees going in place. We were watching them spread the mulch and everything else today. Again, there'll still be punch list issues, as this was a huge undertaking that will, fall into, the month of September, maybe a little in October, but the majority of it is being addressed. IT installation, most of that is in place. All the monitors and things I saw installed today, again, it's just working through the connectivity of all that and the final hookups. Construction cleaning is way ahead of schedule. I think we're sitting pretty good there. We already have our approvals from the fire marshal last week we got, so we can actually occupy. And then the final C of O walk was today. It will be a temporary C of O just because we're still wrapping up the issues with the pool, so we'll get our final C of O in October after the pool is delivered to us. But the walk with the building inspector was this afternoon, and hopefully we were able to obtain our temporary C of O. So again, students will be there on time, ready to roll at the new North Middle School on September 5th. South is our biggest challenge, and not going to lie, there's a lot of things going on. There's a couple things that are not going to be ready day one. One of them is the media center, and we've done our part to communicate that out to the team. And the reason that has become an issue is once we started tearing and opening up walls, we found some structural issues that were unbeknownst to us and the architectural team. Based on their original design, they wanted to try to introduce and implement there. And so we had to go back to the drawing board there, make some changes, move some walls around. And we lost a few weeks there, and if not a month. So we are tracking probably about a month behind schedule there with the media center. It could go as far as into mid-October, but after what I saw today, I'm encouraged that they might be able to improve upon that. But that will not be available day one on September 5th. And I don't think that is a critical issue there for the school at all. Athletic fields, the new football field is completed. They were actually putting up fencing around it today. And that's an amazing endeavor there. It looks fantastic. There was some drone video that was floating around today. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure we can get that to you to show you what that looks like from 30,000 feet or wherever they were taking that. It was looking good. The tennis courts are still online right now, but we'll be going offline very soon so they can begin the work on that. The monument sign is, the foundation's there. It's not in place yet, but should be coming later this week or first of next week. The parking and landscaping is site work. Obviously, we talked about that a little bit today, that paving's behind schedule. They were granted approvals from the township today to work on Sunday to catch up on the paving aspect of that. Landscaping will be following very soon behind there, and I believe they will still be working on the landscaping, during the start of the school year, but it won't be disruptive at all to the flow of traffic or the students. Life safety fire marshal, so Bart Mell's been very good and diligent about getting him in weekly as well. So we do actually have preliminary approvals there. We're seeking final approval later next week for that, as well as our certificate of occupancy. So we are on track. Final health department inspections, I believe, are taking place tomorrow or Friday there. So we should be in good shape there as well. Final cleaning, I would say that I haven't really done much there as far as final cleaning goes because there's so many people in there. I would say it's more of a construction clean. So we'll be looking to start probably this weekend on final cleaning, and that will obviously go right into next week until when the teachers come back in. And again, as I alluded to, hoping that around the 29th, 30th, we will receive our final approvals and C of O from the municipalities. But all in all, we are on track to get kids into the school, first day of school there. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Wills for a quick finance update.
Thank you. And before we move on, is there any thoughts, comments, concerns of those board members that were able to tour through? Any initial wow comments? I mean, I've been in the district for a dozen years, and I just tell you, I wish my kids could go back to middle school and elementary schools, but
Yeah, I went through North Hills Middle School, and I was very impressed with all the updates, and I'm so glad that that building's being used since the high school closed, too. I think the community will feel the energy, and it's going to be vibrant in that area.
I had the opportunity to go through North Hills, South Hills, Conant, and Way. North Hills is just fine. The others are a little concerning to the community, but I do understand everything's on track to be taken care of. I have faith. It was helpful to be out there and talk to the people on the job about this and that. It did offer me a lot of assurance that I did not have prior or just from looking at it, but the facilities are absolutely phenomenal and worth all the headache. And once we get through the major stuff on the punch list, the kids are going to be very excited about their spaces, I think.
I think a special acknowledgement for Principal Rubel and Principal English. I mean, their attitude, just the positivity, the excitement of the team, their team. Also to Mr. Schulk and Mr. McDermott, they have their normal jobs. Like I said, even if there was not construction, is just to really get their activities up and running. So again, it's a very large task, and again, it is all hands on deck. And the best part, one of the major goals of the bond was get back to a K-5, 6, 8, 9, 12 cohort by the fall of 23, and here we are. So again, thank you. Shifting gears a little bit to the financials. So again, want to just say thanks to Trustee Kumar, Trustee Cole, and Trustee VanGemert for their time. Actually, we've been meeting almost weekly, really for the last month, to really go through where we're at with the overall bond. So again, we've done about $114 million of construction in place. There's some actual activities, even with Eastover, the former Eastover, it'd be Bloomington's East, which Mr. Dresselhaus will go here shortly. The good news is, out of the $200 million, $155 total bond, we're tracking just above $200 million. Again, some of that was done through conscious efforts. So again, understanding the major priorities was bid packs 1 through 6, so the 2 middle schools, getting the reconfiguration for the K-5 at the elementaries. In mid-September, there's going to be another walkthrough. I'm looking at the blue sheets, if you recall, and really figuring out what can still potentially be there, what are some of those funding mechanisms, and what does that phase 2 really look like. So that's roughly about $68 million worth of work, which you see in that second bullet. As I was just describing, there's about $4.2 million of projects, for instance, electric or generators for the facilities. We found out there's more cost-effective ways to do that. Some of the assumptions on, let's say, some finishes and flooring, those could easily be alternates as we look at future bid packs. Working with the finance department, again, transfer from food services. By legislative rules, you do have to have a certain fund balance. If you have that, you need to spend it. So again, working with actually Ms. Kostick and Ms. Hildebrandt to look at the middle school kitchens to reallocate some of those dollars. So every little bit helps going forward. There's a lot of districts out there that are in bond programs that are making some of those same decisions you're making of what do we do for the phase 2, where's cost escalation, what opportunities do we have, and we'll talk a little bit about that here shortly going forward. So again, this is kind of bid packs 1 through 5, as you can see, are pretty much wrapping up. We're right here at the black line, which is third quarter. The playground equipment, as Mr. Dresselhaus kind of said, was approved, and again, we'll probably leak into a little bit of the October timeframe with some of that. Really, what's coming up next is going to be the early childhood renovations over at Eastover, former Eastover, if you will. We've got the athletic renovations additions, which you saw the ball fields. We'll talk a little bit about when is the wellness center coming back in front of the board. That's really exciting in terms of some of the imagery and some of the possibilities of what that could look like, including concessions. Everything pretty much bid packs 1 through 10 is still on track. The 2 things you will see, again, is the early additions at Conant. Again, working with the board, again, what's the best use of district's dollars towards classrooms? Again, looking at where Lone Pine could potentially be with the pre-K for 4-year-olds. Obviously, you have a lot of flexibility and expansion ability at Lone Pine going forward, and then also the transportation maintenance conversation. So one of the things we're looking at is really taking the deeper dive for those 2 programs specifically. The good news is we haven't had a chance to meet with all the users. So the pre-K at Lone Pine, we know that could easily fit because they're already there. There's 10 additional classrooms that we could expand and renovate if ultimately that's the decision of not putting classroom additions at Conant. We're probably going to come back probably in the mid-November timeframe, maybe at the December work session to really outlay what that looks like. There's also the consideration for robotics. We've had 3 meetings now with robotics through that program. I'm looking at not just the gymnasium, but maybe potentially that larger media center of raising that roof to really make sure that we could accommodate a full-size robotics field. What are some of those costs looks like? There's some structural reviews that have to take place with French Associates and Bart Mallow. So look for that Lone Pine conversation really for a decision point in that mid-November timeframe for pre-K as well as for STEM, STEAM, and / robotics. Transportation, again, originally in the bond it was to purchase a site. We have identified 2 parcels that's currently located in the township. It's actually at the north end of the township line on Franklin off of Fremont. There's currently 7 parcels for sale. 2 have already sold. So there's 4 remaining. They're about 6 to 8 acres apiece. Some of that due diligence is you could buy it as is. It's about $127,000 to $130,000 an acre, or it can actually be finished for you. That price obviously goes up. So there's some due diligence that's going to be needed, talking to the developer, talking to the township. The one thing I did want to stress, we did hear back from the township, it is zoned research. So a transportation facility is not compliant with that. So that parcels, if ultimately selected, would have to be rezoned to manufacturing light, which is allowable in that North Franklin area. There's a timeline for that, and again, that's some of that due diligence that we want to be able to come back to the board in that mid-November timeframe and say, here's option A, what was in the bond for both the Lone Pine Conant pre-K conversation, or here's the other option for that. Same thing with transportation. Here's a potential purchase price, here's the due diligence that's been completed to date, here's the rezoning that would have to take place. And if you're familiar with the site, I think we did show it to the finance team. There's still 2 neighborhoods that still surround those parcels at the end of Fremont. So again, that's the same conversation we have currently. So that's some of that due diligence we wanted to do, potentially reach out to the potential neighborhoods. That was actually recommended by Danny Walsh, if that's a path. So that's part of that due diligence we just talked about. That really would bring this back to the November timeframe going forward. So with that, I'm going to let Mr. Dresselhaus kind of go very specifically, high level, very quickly, like what are some of those specifics that were in the bond for those things that are on the drawing board, and then we'll wrap it up for some questions. So, Mr.
Thank you. So talking specifically about Blumentatz East, the former Eastover, and then Blumentatz West, which is the former Lone Pine. What is going to be taking place with respect to design activities here and construction improvements at these facilities? So I wanted to talk and touch on a few things. So at Blumentatz East, we're talking about parking lot modifications, designing and implementing a new secure vestibule and main office, interior cosmetic renovations throughout, inclusive of casework, paint, flooring, cubbies, miscellaneous storage hardware, signage, things of that nature. Looking at changing out all the lighting to become LED, more energy efficient, compliant. What can we afford? What can't we afford? Where's it? The biggest impacts, those type of things. We need to start looking at selecting furniture that would be going into those suites and classrooms. Fire and life safety upgrades, so we're actually working on that right now behind the scenes with French and their designers to implement the new fire and life safety upgrades to the facilities, maintenance upgrades and mechanical upgrades. IT equipment and infrastructure upgrades that would be identified that we would put into those. So this is just one of the facilities that our little task force team will be walking through on September 15th, taking a look at some of this stuff in particular with our architect and deciding what we'd come back to you with some recommendations. Blumentatz West, so there's a lot of due diligence that's going on there. With the expansion of the Lone Pine site, pending board direction, some things will be coming back there. What are we doing with the potential renovations of existing Conant space? Those are things as well that we're working with the subcommittee and pending board direction yet. So we're still tossing that around. The Wellness Center addition, this is huge. So next month we'll be here presenting you with what we'd like to do for the Wellness Center and the concession stand at the high school. We'll have some renderings, 3D imaging. We have done a lot of schematic design work on how this would fit best onto the site. We had to make some changes in order to accommodate budget, but we are tracking at budget based on what we're going to present. So we're putting these packages together, and we'll be back here on the 28th with a full presentation of what we'd like to do there. The baseball and softball fields, which I talked about earlier, we're tracking ahead of schedule, so those will be completed this year, and I doubt much will fall into 2024, but we will be done completed by spring of 2024. That's What does that include? That's all new turf and adjustable base pass pegs so that you can have different age groups playing on the fields. New padded backstops and fencing is being installed. New turf for the batting cages and bullpens will be installed. It's going to be a state-of-the-art facility for sure for baseball and softball. The new freestanding concession building, it's approximately, almost 3,900 square feet at the high school. It's going to house public and family restrooms. We'll have designated team meeting rooms and restrooms for the players and officials, outdoor storage, which is badly needed, and then a concession stand area for food and beverage as well. And this would be out by the tennis courts on, I guess it would be the west side of the football field out there. Transportation relocation, Mr. Wills just talked about. We're still working on our due diligence there for that, and we'll come back with some more feedback. And then the construction bid mapping. This is just showing you the overall program as to where we're at. The items highlighted in the blue are really the elementary renovations, the phase 2, and then getting into the old East and West Hills renovations, the phase 1. And then also talking about the early childhood additions. So we're hopeful we're lagging a little bit behind on the bid documentations, but we're hopeful to have designs all approved, brought forth for the board so that we can begin putting this stuff into motion for activity to start in summer of 2024. So just overall, I mean, we've been going so hard here for the last couple of years. I think there's going to be a little time here for us to kind of catch our breath and step back and get things pulled together. But the sheer amount of construction activity that the families and everyone sees will definitely be slowing down and coming into kind of the finishing home stretch here with a lot of the punch list and things like that. So I believe that concludes our presentation, and open it up to questions you may have for us.
Thank you. Any questions, trustees? Trustee Fala.
Going back to, and I know that this isn't about the second part that you just presented, going back to talking about each of the schools, I know you went over it quickly, but if you could re-summarize for me again, is each school on track currently? I'm assuming that you need a temporary C of O for next week when the teachers come back, is that right?
Actually, it's for the students to occupy it, so teachers, adults can actually walk in those facilities. It's under
Okay.
construction. You just can't teach school. So for instance, if a teacher's setting up the room, that is allowable.
Okay.
But actually, the fire marshal would then give you that temporary C of O to occupy for students. And those-
So do we anticipate that we're going to get a C of O for first day of school or a temporary C of O?
Traditionally, probably 95% of times, it's always a temporary because there's some things that are in there. Again, it's fix this damper, or hey, change out this light switch, or things of that nature. So again, it's usually a 60-day to 90-day.
Okay. Just minor punch list items.
Correct.
So do you have any doubt or any hesitation that any school might not get its temporary C of O by day one?
We're confident that every school will have a certificate of occupancy, either temporary or final.
Okay.
To occupy school. So,
And-
again, I mentioned this earlier, that's one nice thing about having a partnership with the township. The fact that you call them up and say, can I pave on Sunday? Like,
Right.
That's phenomenal. I mean,
Right.
that does not happen in most municipalities and jurisdictions. So, again, just having that relationship, being able to call the fire marshal, we're ready for you today. As Alan mentioned, like, they're showing almost daily to make sure that they can say, yes, kids are able to do it.
And what day are they supposed to come through for that final evaluation?
So we can go through each school if
Yeah,
you'd
that'd
like
be
to. So again, as I mentioned, North was today. I don't have notification if we got our temporary C of O yet or not, but certainly it looks to me like we were on track, and I don't think there's any stop signs there. South, fire marshal and building inspector is scheduled for Tuesday, the 29th. Conant, fire marshal, building inspector is scheduled for Monday, the 28th. Way, fire marshal and building inspector is coming through for final on the 28th, which is Monday. Eastover, fire marshal, building inspector is coming through on Wednesday, the 30th. Lone Pine fire marshal is already complete, as I alluded to, and we have our final C of O there.
And from the time they do that inspection until the time they give you their answer, how long is that typically?
Do 24 hours.
Okay. And have they been working with you all as you go along for their periodic inspections to give you a full heads up on any anticipated
Oh, yeah.
issues?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I give our partners some credit, Bart Mello. They are on top of it, and they are doing everything in their power to stay ahead of the game with respect to what the municipalities are looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Hill. Trustee Fowler?
So, did we put this, not this one, but the other one where we had all the progress, is that on the website, on our website? Okay.
Yeah, the new web was rolled out, Karen, last week, right? Monday, yeah, so it's on there.
Actually, I believe this
It's the-
one as well
Yeah,
as
this,
these are
all the-
also up there, yep.
The weekly detail one is
Okay.
there.
And that was, so this one says 8/14, originally said weekly, so are we expecting anything this week to replace?
Well, we update this and work with the bond subcommittee and our finance team weekly. We update this, so the week of the August 14th will fall off. We had to submit this
For your
last
board
week
packet.
for the board packet, so
Oh, I see.
even though we're into the,
Okay,
so, yeah.
okay, and then, and I can, maybe, this might be a question for David that I could go into at some point, but there was an item on there, and I think I asked about it once a while back, but I don't know if it may have been the same situation and I needed to talk to David, but in terms of like reductions, there was an item on there for tech reductions, as well as other things, but that one stood out to me because I know technology is a big piece when we talk about budgetary considerations. So any way to articulate what was reduced, if it puts us into a gap in the future where we say we couldn't do, for example, cabling because we're going to reduce, but now we'll have to do that in the future. And here's when we would have to do that, just so that we can say we decided to, defer it for now, but those are things that we'd want to look out for in the future that, yeah, we're saving money now, but if we have to do it, or if it's delaying models or something like that, whatever it may be.
Yeah, so actually, the good news is we have reviewed this with the finance committee from the board level. We couldn't share with you, for instance, there's a line on there for technology infrastructure related for future expansions. Again, it was a placeholder, so a good example would be, it's not in the bond, but let's say you want to do a 4 or 6 classroom addition at IA. You had a placeholder there for that infrastructure to potentially have that addition. So again, we're not saying these projects are eliminated, or simply they've been identified and kind of tracked separately. The next one is the student management attendance system. So again, it's an upgrade to the system you currently have, but it's in year 6 of the bond. It's kind of a refresh. There's the booth transportation AV. So if you don't do that, there's roughly $400,000 of, you don't have to reconnect that new facility to the connectivity of the buildings and some of the other things that come with that. And lastly is the refresh for surveillance cameras. It was about $75,000. So all that combined is about $1.8 million.
Okay.
And like you said, I think we could send some documents through Dr. Liepa back to the board if you're interested in some of that finer detail. It's actually the one you see on the right-hand side there, lower right's kind of small, but that just tracks to that. So.
I mean,
And I
someone,
would just add that Trustee Coomer asked that we identify that with Dave Shulkins. And so right now, Dave is pretty much 7 days a week. He's going to be
Yeah.
working on Labor Day.
Sure.
I mean, he's got about, he and every one of his staff have about 18 days in a row that they're working. So he asked if we could bring that back to the subcommittee in September, and the subcommittee graciously say yes. We can. We'll let them hook everything up, as I say, right? They got to go and hook it up in the building. So we're going to let them hook it up, but then we're going to come back with that detail to the board committee, and of course, we can share that with all board members.
yeah, I mean, it's just, it sounds like some of it is, in the case of like transportation, that's a contingent thing. It's like we're under the assumption that if we don't do this, then this, but I guess some of that isn't 100%. So some of these things are like,
The ones which have been deferred are basically not the basic infrastructure in terms of technology, but more the nice-to-haves, is the way I would describe them.
okay.
So, yeah,
Well, I mean,
absolutely.
transportation
We're
aid,
waiting for
yeah.
the detail as well,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So absolutely, we'll be coming to you as soon as we get to see it.
Okay.
But yeah, everything which is, as Paul mentioned, everything which has been put into that category is really a nice-to-have right now. And as we identify savings coming through from other budget items related to facilities, these will be picked up and implemented. So the idea is not to lose track of them, and that's why they're being tracked.
Another great example, like for instance, next summer, there's the AV and entrance intercoms. That's roughly about $2.4 million. There's the wider network replacement in 24-25. That's still that, to Trustee Kumar, is still the base. Then there's still the refresh of 740 units for teachers, 4,800 for students. So that's still part of that base. That's about $6.8 million. And so again, we could work with Dr. Liepa back to the finance ultimate of the board to have that very specific by school building, by dollar amount. So that I
Yeah, it would
really,
just be good to know
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
some point. And I know you guys are working hard, and that's not the priority right now, so no rush. But just at some point to know,
Just wanted to
Mr.
know
Shulkin
there
is
was
looking
that
for some
on
help
the
if
radar.
we got some technology bad.
I need some too, so if you you can give me one, I'll take one.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Fano. Any other questions?
Good.
Oh, awesome. Thank you all again.
You bet.
Thank you.
As usual, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes. it's been a-
Definitely a team effort.
Definitely. Definitely want to continue to thank our trustee, VanGemert Kumar and Siva Kumar and Colin, said your name twice, for your work on the bond and keeping things together. And our great addition, Dr. Liepa, and all the work that you've been doing. So, all right. Moving right along to the item number 7, making sure we're all hearts are satisfied before we conclude our day.
Yeah.
You like you want to say something besides happy
I was
birthday?
looking for where the bond information was on the new website.
The tracker?
Yeah,
Yeah, she can tell you.
but other than that, I mean, if,
The bar.
where's the bond stuff on the website now?
I can show you after. I just sent Mary a message to get it up to the latest one up tomorrow. We just got that yesterday.
Okay, I was just trying to let people know where to find it, because I was looking and I was like, oh, it used to be kind of prominent.
Also go to the search feature and just type in
Okay. All right.
So
That's
for-
how the kids all manage their iPhones. They don't put their apps in a spot that everyone just searches for.
Searches. So
The
for
kids.
now, just go to the search bar and you'll be able to search bond, but it will
Oh,
be
the search works better.
added.
it works better now, but it's
All right. It was,
Great. Anything else?
that's it.
All right. Moving to item number 7, adjournment. See you at the football game. All right.